Is the Damian Lillard dream dead? Is the trade not going to happen for the Miami Heat? That is what we are going to discuss on today's edition of the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and we also explore what potential backup options there are if the Heat do not get Damian Lillard. We're going to dive into that in a second, but first, I got to ask you guys to share today's video. Click the share button, select the Twitter icon. I don't give a shit what Elon Musk says. It's still Twitter. It's not Ask. Click post to Twitter. Tag me at Nic_Rohloff, and you will get a shout out on the next show. I want to keep on growing this channel to the most Miami Heat fans possible. Best way to do that is to share this video so other Heat fans can join in. All right, let's jump into what Barry Jackson said of the Miami Herald. He said, meanwhile, as of early this week, Portland was still showing no interest in doing a deal with the Heat on Lillard, who visit the Blazers in late February in what is reportedly Portland's only national TV game. To me, Lillard has as much leverage based on how messy he's willing to make this. And my first reaction is the Brian Windhorst meme. What is going on over there? It's a little interesting, I can't deny it, that the Portland Trail Blazers' only national TV game that isn't on NBA TV is against the Miami Heat. Now, could that signal the little trade is coming? I mean, the game is also after the NBA trade deadline, so maybe the NBA is hedging itself a little bit by at least saying the Blazers might send Dame to Miami at the NBA trade deadline. That's what's intriguing to me on that end. But to go back to this, the fact that they said no interest and haven't really had any discussions as of yet, we talked about it on yesterday's show. It could be because the front offices in the NBA are on hiatus for a little bit in the month of August. But I do think Cronin doesn't want to send Dame to the Miami Heat, and he's being really bitter about it. So what is Dame going to have to do? If Dame really does want to force his way to the 305 to play with Jimmy and Bam in Miami, he might have to make things very, very messy. And what does that mean? He might have to sit out and, unfortunately, go against his pockets, and if he does sit out, he will lose some money. But if he does want to win a championship, I guess it could work out for him in the larger scheme of things. He also could take the James Harden route and go on a public media bashing spree of their GM like Harden did to Daryl Morey. It's just a question of how Damian Lillard wants to handle this. Is he just going to be a professional and show up to training camp and hope that Cronin keeps his word and sends Lillard to where he wants? Or is he going to have to go bash him in the public media? But when you look at the Portland Trail Blazers side of things, what is their plan? Are they going to bring a disgruntled Dame into their building and ruin the team chemistry for this upcoming year? I mean, Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe have a shit ton of potential. And if you bring Dame into that, it's not only going to limit their growth, but it is also going to create an awkward situation because everyone in the building is going to know Dame doesn't want to be there for this upcoming season. It is going to be a very sticky situation for Portland, so it doesn't really make sense for them to want to bring Dame back. So when is the trade going to happen? That's what I have to ask you guys on today's show. It is our pinned comment, so if you do get hit with a YouTube ad break, scroll down and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. When will Dame get traded to Miami? Type 1 if you think it's going to be in this month of August. Type 2 if it's going to be in September. Type 3 if you think it's never going to happen. Next, we're talking Erik Spoelstra because he had an interesting quote this morning when talking to Brian Windhorst at Abu Dhabi when they're at the Team USA camp because Spoelstra is there, part of the coaching staff. He had a very interesting quote on the Heat roster and what they did in the offseason. This is what he had to say. We have most of our work done. We're bringing back the majority of our players, and that's a luxury in this league. We feel great about our group. We made some nice additions. Jay Rich, Josh Richardson, Thomas Bryant, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. Tyler Hero's healthy. Jimmy and Bam are back. That's a great core, so we're excited. And my first reaction to what Spoelstra had to say is that what do you want him to say? He's going to go out there in the public and say, yeah, we're still trying to look to acquire Damian Lillard. One, I don't think he would ever do that because you're going to ruin the team chemistry and the team vibes, and that's kind of my main takeaway from this. Spoelstra's not going to go out there and say that we're looking to get Damian Lillard because that's going to signal to some players on the roster that they might not be here. And even though they might think that already, it's just going to ruin things. And I said this a couple days ago, and I want to pound the table for it. If you bring this situation into Heat training camp, it is going to be a massive problem because the players on your team are not going to be able to build chemistry. The vibes are going to be off, and it is going to create a horrible situation. But the Heat do need to add a legit scorer to this roster, because do you remember what happened in the NBA Finals? Yeah, obviously the Heat just made it to the Finals and represented the Eastern Conference, but let's not act like they were expected to, right? Like, they made a miracle run, beating the one-seeded Bucks, beating the Knicks, beating the Celtics, and then they came up short in 5 games against the Nuggets, where they only eclipsed 100 points in that 5-game series one time out of the 5 games. So they clearly need more scoring. And who can do that? This man right here, Damian Lillard, because he has a lot of experience playing in the postseason, and he has performed when it has mattered the most. There has not been that good of teams around him. You cannot deny that. But he has averaged 25.7 points per game in his career in the playoffs while shooting 46% from the field and 45% from 3. You're just not going to find someone who is that effective in the postseason that often. And especially when Dame specifically requests to join the Miami Heat, you got to take advantage of it. So the Heat do need to go out and add Damian Lillard. And I'll say this, if the Dame trade does happen to the Miami Heat, or it doesn't, say catastrophic failure happens and he is not a Miami Heatle next season, we will have you covered no matter what. So make sure you join the channel, join the rocket ship, subscribe today. Now I want to explore what if the Damian Lillard trade does not happen. We saw an interesting quote from Spoelstra, a tweet from Barry Jackson. What are the Heat options if Damian Lillard doesn't happen? I think option number 1 is very clearly run it back, and that's kind of what Erik Spoelstra mentioned. And when you think about the Heat coming up short in the NBA Finals, you do have to remember they didn't have Tyler Hero, someone who has been one of the best players on the Heat roster over the past 4 seasons since he joined the team, and is someone who is 23 years old, averaging 20 points a night while shooting effectively. Sure, he's had his postseason struggles. He's admitted that to the public, but he is currently working on his craft. He's still only 23 years old, as I just mentioned. He's only getting better, and you might argue that if Hero is on that NBA Finals roster, maybe it comes out differently. But you can also say that the Heat could be playing better without Tyler Hero. It is a double-edged sword when you talk about the Miami Heat, but there is no doubt a healthy Tyler Hero, maybe with a Nikola Jovic coming into the fold, and then a Jaime Jaquez, Josh Richardson coming back. I know you lost Max Strus, you lost Gabe Vincent, but the roster is better from that postseason last year if we started the season today. So maybe the run-it-back option wouldn't be so bad. Option number 2, I think you try to go out and trade for Zach LaVine. And you might ask yourself, what would you have to give up? And maybe you do have to give up Tyler Hero to get Zach LaVine. But LaVine is a certified bucket. And to me, when I look at Tyler Hero's ceiling, it's kind of what Zach LaVine is right now. And that's not me being a hater on Tyler Hero. It's just a realistic expectation on number 14, because what LaVine can do with the rock in his hands is extraordinary. He averages 24 a night consistently while shooting damn near 50% from the field and 38% from 3 consistently. LaVine can get to his spot whenever he needs to. He is a perfect offensive fit with this Heat team. He's in that backcourt. Sure, the Heat would still need to add a point guard, but LaVine in the backcourt with Jimmy on the wing and Bam Adebayo in the center setting screens for LaVine, that is a dynamic offensive trio. I love Hero, but LaVine is certainly better than Tyler is, and he would help the Heat win a championship more right now than Tyler could. And I'll ask you this, though. Let me know your plan. I'm going to say 3 or 4 options here, what the Heat could do without Damian Lillard, but let me know, what would you do if the Heat do not acquire Damian Lillard before the season tips off on October 25th? Third option, and it might be a hectic one, but you could go out and trade for James Harden. And we explored the idea earlier this week on a Heat video, and I kind of told you during that video that I talked myself into James Harden on this Heat roster. Why? Because I don't think you would take a lot to acquire James Harden. And the trade that I outlined, the Heat would also get P.J. Tucker back. You send off Jaime Jaquez Jr., you send off Kyle Lowry, send off Duncan Robinson and a couple first-rounders, and you get a lineup that looks like this. Harden and Hero in the backcourt, sure, that is a defensive nightmare, but the offense is undeniable. And Harden, being the playmaker that he is, averaging 10-plus assists a night, dishing it to Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, and then you get P.J. Tucker back at the power forward position to get one of the best defensive front courts in the NBA. We saw it work 2 years ago. It could happen again. Then you have Caleb Martin, Jovic, and Josh Richardson coming off the bench. This is a Heat roster that I really like. I think this would be the best starting 5 in the NBA. I know there's questions about Harden's culture fit, but I do think from a pure on-paper basketball fit, it would work. And I trust Erik Spoelstra and Pat Riley to get Harden in the mental fortitude to be good for this Heat team. Next on the list, and it's a shocker, but it's Pascal Siakam. And I actually do want to explore Pascal Siakam more in depth, and I think I'm going to do that in tomorrow's video. But just off the cuff here, Siakam's fit with the Miami Heat is amazing. You slide him into that 4 position next to Jimmy and Bam, and you have a dynamic front court on your hands. And we have been, as Heat fans, expressing the need to get a 4 next to Bam Adebayo for the foreseeable future. Maybe that man could be Pascal Siakam. He has stated that he wouldn't sign a contract extension with a team that traded for him, but I think the Heat would be able to convince him to sign an extension. Siakam can get buckets whenever he needs to. He's also really good defensively. You would probably get to keep Tyler Hero in a trade for Siakam. So having Hero, Siakam, Jimmy, and Bam, that is a dynamic roster that I would like to see pan out. It would be the 4th option and probably the least likely out of the 4 that I put out there, but it's intriguing nonetheless. But if you do want to see me go in depth more on Pascal Siakam in the future and how he would fit with the Miami Heat and what a trade would look like, make sure you do hit that sub button. We're bringing you everything when it comes to the Miami Heat, news, rumors, trades, and when we get to the season, we're going to be talking real Heat basketball and potentially doing watch parties. So don't miss out. Make us your one-stop shop for Heat basketball. Subscribe today.